إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So as I promised, I'm gonna share with you my trip yesterday and this tremendous funeral janazah and this great scholar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has benefited a lot of Muslims, even we can say non-Muslims, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant all of us the best ending. First thing, actually, I arrived right to the cemetery. I couldn't catch the salah at the masjid, al-janazah, but we have prayed over there at the cemetery for those who didn't pray the janazah at the masjid. So, if you actually want to count how many people were there, the like of which I haven't seen in my life, especially here in America, the number of people who attended the janazah, who actually went there to thank Allah Azza wa Jal first and to thank this Shaykh, because whoever doesn't thank people, he doesn't thank Allah. Who said that? The Prophet Muhammad said, "Man lam yashkur al-nas lam yashkur Allah." And one of the rights of our brothers upon us when one of them dies is to attend his janazah. That's what he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Is to attend his janazah. This is the last right in the dunya here. Last right in the dunya is to attend the janazah of your brother and to make dua for him. But subhanallah, I have noticed something. What happened wasn't actually arranged by people. Can't be arranged by people. It has to be arranged by a super powerful entity who is Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because everybody actually went there, realized the words that came out of the heart before tongues, and realized the tears that people actually shed, and some of them even never met the Shaykh before. So what's the point? What's the story? Why did all of those people feel like that? First of all, we're going to mention the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, إن الله إذا أحب عبدا نادى في السماء نادى جبريل إني أحب فلانا فأحبه أو فأحبه. When Allah loves somebody, He calls out Jibreel alayhi salam, and He says to Jibreel, I love so and so, so you should what? Love him too. Then Jibreel loves him. Then what Jibreel does? And Jibreel, he calls out where? The whole angels, the whole inhabitants of the heaven, and Jibreel says to them, Inna Allah yuhibbu fulanan fa'ahibbu. Indeed, Allah loves so and so, so you should love him too. فَيُحِبُّهُ أَهْلُ السَّمَاءِ. So the inhabitants of the heavens love him. Then hadith says what? ثُمَّ يُوضَعُ لَهُ الْقَبُولُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Then the qabul, the love, the acceptance will be settled for him on earth. On earth. Subhanallah. So it doesn't come from here, it comes from there. Just attach your heart. First, attach your heart to Allah Azza wa Jal. Just we're going to mention these points like bullets, right? Very, inshallah, brief. The first point is, when I saw all of those people, I realized one thing. We should cry on ourselves. We should cry on ourselves. Because we believe, inshallah, this Shaykh, he's under the protection of Allah Azza wa Jal. The day that he died, he prayed Fajr at the masjid. He did Salah of Fajr. And he gave a Khaطرة after Fajr. And whoever prays Fajr at the masjid, he's where? Under Allah's protection. Authentic hadith. Man صلى الفجر هو في ذمة الله. Under the protection of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So we cry on ourselves. Why? Because do we have any guarantee to get this good ending? Do you have any guarantee to have all of those creations, all of those people making dua for us all around the globe, my dear brothers and sisters? They were not only here in America. The da'awat, if you just, subhanallah, see the page on the Facebook, you see the social media, the da'awat came to him, and still the da'awat are actually coming to him from all over the globe. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, you know, all of those who heard his recitation one day, all of those who even heard about him, subhanallah. Even those who didn't hear about him, I'm going to mention now why. Because it's not from them, it's from Allah Azza wa Jal. Even those who even haven't heard about him in their lifetime, Allah made them make dua for him. Why do you love him? Brother, you mentioned that, right? You said you haven't heard about him for. And he attended the janazah. Why? He didn't go. Allah made him go. Allah made him go there. And others, those who actually made dua for him, the dua came from their heart. Because Allah, He actually decreed that to happen. The third lesson, what was the reason for this Shaykh to be elevated, for this brother, for this man to be elevated? One thing. Who can mention that? Huh? Quran. People loved him not because of anything else. Not because of anything else in this dunya. People loved him, and Allah elevated his status because of what? Quran. And Quran is still among us. And Allah said that in Quran. Subhanallah. And Umar ibn Khattab also said that. One day, I'm going to translate what I shared with the brothers last night over there. Umar ibn Khattab, he was the Khalifa. And he had to travel somewhere. A long story short, he assigned somebody to be in his place until he comes back. So this Amir, who was appointed by Umar ibn Khattab, he went to welcome Umar and to receive him outside the Medina when he heard that he is coming back. So Umar asked him, why did you come? I just made you over there. I put you over there just to take care of the Medina. He said, don't worry, I assigned somebody else. He said, who is that? He said, his name is Ibn Abza. Ibn Abza, Umar, he knew all of the inhabitants of Medina. He knew all of the Sahaba. He said, I haven't heard about this name before. Who is Ibn Abza? He said, he is a freed slave. A freed slave. A man who was a slave and he got his freedom. He said to this guy, did you appoint a freed slave to be a leader at Medina? Which Medina? But the Prophet Muhammad, imagine the president, he appointed a freed. He said, and then he explained to him, he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, yes, I put him as a leader because he memorized the whole Quran. A freed slave memorized the whole Quran and he knew part of knowledge, al-fara'id, the inheritance. And Umar al-Khattab, he mentioned that, he said, Sadaqa Rasulullah. He said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said the truth. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْفَعُ بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ أَقْوَامًا وَيَضَعُ بِهِ آخَرِينَ. He said, indeed, Allah elevates the status of those people who have Quran. And Allah put the status of others down because of their neglecting to the Quran. So it's very easy, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He elevated the status of this man. The fourth or fifth lesson is, Allah mentioned in the Quran, this guy, he was not seeing, right? He was blind. All of his life he was blind. He was blind. Just to realize, when I was praying, Allah, it came to my mind, I said, subhanallah, what if any of us wakes up in the morning and he finds himself not able to see? How would your day, let alone the rest of your life, how would your day and your life will actually go on? Just close your eyes. And just imagine. If you can test it, just close your eyes and go to your home. What? A man who lived almost 39 years without being able to see. And he shared with one of his brothers, he said, Wallahi, to read one book, it needs from me, it takes a long time to transform this book to the Braille method. You know the Braille? Just to be able to read it. He memorized the whole Quran. MashaAllah. He was giving khutbah, by the way, recently he learned English. And he has khutbah in English. Listen to this. He inspired me. I'm going to give you this surprise now. I heard last night that this Sheikh gave a khutbah in Urdu. He's an Egyptian guy. He learned Urdu. And he gave one day a khutbah in Urdu. Believe it or not. What are we doing, guys? Imagine that. Can you imagine that?
Like a miracle.
Subhanallah. So who is the blind? Who is the real blind? Who is the real blind? Subhanallah. And by the way, Allah said that. Allah said that in the Quran. Allah said, Subhanallah, whoever follows my way, he wouldn't actually find any misery in his life, right? And he wouldn't get misguided. Whoever follows my guidance, he will never get misguided and he will never lead a miserable life. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. And whoever turns his face away from my dhikr, he will have a miserable life. Imagine that. This is in the dunya. What about the akhirah? وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. And we will resurrect him on the day of judgment, what? Blind. A day which will be 50,000 years long. He will be resurrected blind. And he will ask, Oh Allah, why did you resurrect me blind and I was seeing on the dunya? قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا. What will be the response? قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها. Such happened because our verses came to you and you neglected. وكذلك اليوم تنسى. Likewise, today you will be neglected. Subhanallah. So this actually the real blindness, the real ama, is to neglect Quran. And this verse in Surah Taha, Allah mentioned that to tell us you have to care about Quran if you want to be able to see. Subhanallah. I'm going to share with you some of the dreams and visions as I promised my brothers today. You heard it, I think. The guy said in the cemetery, he said a lady, she saw a dream a few days ago. And the dream, just one second. The dream actually was about her seeing the Prophet Muhammad. She said, I know the Prophet Muhammad. She saw him. And then she said, I saw the Prophet somebody else. But I haven't seen this person before. But she hadn't seen the Sheikh before. She hadn't seen, I'm telling you, it's not from here, from there. Some people, they chase after, what you call to be famous, to be known, right? And then it doesn't happen to them. She hadn't seen this guy before, this Sheikh before. But she saw the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he was holding a hand of somebody else. She said, I thought he's one of the Sahaba. I don't know him. Anyway, she said, خلاص, she woke up and alhamdulillah, and she said the Prophet Muhammad, what else? Then when this Sheikh passed away, died, they shared his picture. They shared his picture. Wallah, she said that. She shared his picture. They shared his picture. I don't know which actually platform, maybe WhatsApp or whatever. She said, The moment I looked to his face, I remember this is the same guy I saw him with the Prophet Muhammad. Subhanallah, can you imagine that? A glad tiding. And you know what? Allah decreed for her to be unaware of this Shaykh until this moment. She didn't see the Shaykh before this day of his death. She didn't know about this Shaykh before. And she only was able to see his face when he died, and to remember, subhanallah, that this dream. Can you imagine that? It's only one dream. Another dream. Another ru'ya, manam. After he died, one of the brothers saw him in a dream. He was climbing the minbar. He was climbing the minbar, right? And he went up and up until he went to the top of the minbar. The pulpit, right? Top of the minbar. And then he looked to them. And he was smiling. And he said, a verse of Quran, Surah Yasin, all of you know it. يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. What the meaning of this verse? I wish that my people, I would wish that my people know that Allah has forgiven me and He made me from the honored ones. Verses in Surah Yasin. Subhanallah. Like he was smiling, telling his brother, I would wish that all of you guys know that Allah has forgiven my sins and Allah honored me. Allah made me from the honored ones. Allah made me of the honored ones. Subhanallah. Can you imagine that? So this is also another glad. And the Prophet, what did he say about the ru'ya? He said, there is nothing is left from the prophethood, because he's the last prophet, right? He says nothing is left except what? Ar-ru'ya as-salihah. The true ru'ya. Because the true ru'ya is part of the prophethood. Right? Part of 60 part of the prophethood. That's why the beginning of the prophethood started by the ru'ya salihah. By seeing a vision, right? He used to see a vision before Jibreel came to him. Before the first time Jibreel came to him, he used to see a vision, right? And then the next day he would see the same vision happens in front of him. So he said this is actually what's going to be remaining now for people. Ar-ru'ya salihah. You see a ru'ya either to see it for yourself or to be seen for you. يراها العبد أو ترى له. Either you see it yourself, for yourself, or you see it for somebody else. Can you imagine that? Subhanallah. So, and when I was there, I was trying to find any spot to park my car. Of course, it was very difficult. And somebody, he was not Muslim, but American guy, he passed by me. He said, "What's going on?" He saw those people for the first time. By the way, this was close to the cemetery. Of course, he wouldn't need to ask if this is normal, right? But it wasn't normal. He asked me, "What's going on over there?" I said, like somebody, I explained to him, somebody actually passed away, and he was like, this, all of those people came to attend his janazah, right? So it's actually one thing, but here again, the greatest lesson of all of these things, what my brothers, we don't want to be distracted by what happened to the Shaykh from the reason that he got this status before. Because I said, what's the reason for him to be elevated? Quran. That's why I said to my brothers, we should actually get at least one lesson from this, story, is Quran has to accompany us. And we have to accompany Quran. Make the Quran your companion in this dunya. Wallahi. Quran, as he said, would make shafa'ah to those who used to read it in their graves. Right? So read Quran every day. Read whatever you can. And I said to the brothers who know how to memorize Quran. And those who know how to read the meaning, know based on your levels. Based on your level, just try to connect yourself to the Quran. Because the Shaykh died, but the Quran never dies. Quran is the word of Allah, right? Quran is the word of Allah. So Allah didn't elevate his status because of anything. Allah did because And one more thing, this guy, he was always saying the truth. He didn't fear anybody. And he defended the Prophet Muhammad when they cursed him, and he was a poet. He used to write poetry, right? Subhanallah. He defended the Prophet Muhammad. He was interacting. He was not only just reading Quran, that's it, at the masjid. No. By the way, we have to mention that too. He was always interacting with the current situations. If anybody in Denmark or in anywhere, he used to, subhanallah, and also in I think in France, Charlie Hebdo, right? This magazine, right? This is his name. Anyway, when they actually wrote this caricature against the Prophet Muhammad, remember? He wrote a poetry defending the Prophet Muhammad. So he used to interact with the current situations, and subhanallah, used to defend the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. He used to go everywhere to spread the da'wah and mashallah to share the knowledge with people, and he used to teach them, and mashallah. So he was mashallah collection of a right man that we need in our life to have this as a role model. I'm going to finish by that. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me and you the blessing of eyesight, we should utilize it, man. Wallahi. It's a big loss. It's a big loss to live our life without knowing the value of this blessing. Wallahi, the value of this blessing. Subhanallah. And the value, and this is for the kids here who actually speak English fluently. He mentioned that, the Shaykh. He said, look, we suffer in order to just translate for you guys, and he said sometimes I take 4 or 5 hours to what you call to prepare one khutbah, right? Subhanallah, to get ready. And he said those who know the language and don't have any problem to speak this language, they have to go and spread the word. They have to go and share Islam with others. So you have your eyesight that he didn't have, right? And you have the language that he was suffering to, subhanAllah, to use it, and you don't do anything. You know how to read one verse. You don't have to be a scholar to go and share Islam. You can read one hadith, one verse, and make sure that you know it very well, and go and proclaim it, deliver the message, speak to those who are not Muslims. He said, guys, if at least 1, 2, 3 non-Muslims every single year, I think they have to accept Islam because of you. At least try your best, subhanallah. So we need to just to make sure that this is eyesight that Allah has given us is being utilized, being used, wallah. And eventually, we made dua for the Shaykh. We ask Allah to forgive him and to have mercy on him. And I said to them, subhanallah, we were crying on ourselves today, because we ask Allah to give us, all of us, this good ending. And sometimes you ask people just to remind them, please make dua for so, right? Please make dua. No. Sometimes people even don't need anybody to tell them. The dua comes from their heart. They don't need. Khalas, subhanallah. So we want to do something like that in our life. So when we die, we will find people making dua, not because you only remind them as a routine, subhanallah, dua. No, they make dua because they really missed somebody. They really missed someone. And one more thing I want to finish by, this guy, he had a family too, right? He left his family because he had nowhere to earn his income, right? So he had to go everywhere, subhanallah, and he left his family over there. And there's also one more thing we put in mind. He left his family in Egypt, and Allah has given him a newborn baby before the Eid, 10 days before the Eid. 10 days, April 12th, right? He shared that with one of his brothers. He gave him this name Sufyan, right? And of course he hadn't met him. Of course he doesn't see, he didn't see, but he hadn't even met him. He hadn't touched him. This newborn baby, subhanallah, Allah has given him, just to know this dunya is so mean. It doesn't even equal anything in Allah's view. Otherwise Allah would have given him, right? Otherwise Allah would have given to his prophet. Who is better, the Prophet Muhammad or us? Allah didn't give him dunya, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah knew, Allah knows this dunya is nothing. So He didn't give it to him. He said this dunya is not even equivalent to a wing of what? Mosquito. So he said, otherwise he would have given to the Prophet Muhammad. But it's not that. He used to sleep on what? On the ground until it leaves marks in his back. Because it was so coarse, so tough. It was not fine, it was not soft. The bed was not soft. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So here again, my dear brothers, we ask Allah Azza to take this as an initiative for us. Go read Quran, use your eyes to spread knowledge, use your tongue, do everything. Eventually, we ask Allah Azza to grant all of us the best ending. Say Ameen. Allahumma arzuqna husna al-khatimah. Allahumma arzuqna husna al-khatimah. Oh Allah, grant all of us the best ending. Oh Allah, make us from those who will die and who will be happy when they die. They will be happy when they die. The angels will come to them and give them these glad tidings. We ask Allah to elevate our status and to make the Quran the spring of our hearts, and to make the Quran the light of our chests, and to enlighten our grave with Quran, and to enlarge our grave with Quran. I'm going to share with you, sorry for that, one hadith about those who die away from their homes. There is a hadith, Al-Bani said it's Sahih. Whoever dies away from his home, what's going to happen to him? Somebody, he was born somewhere and then he had to migrate and travel somewhere else, and he dies in a different place away from his home, away from his birthplace. What's going to happen to him? He said, one day he went to Medina and he saw a Sahabi, he died in his place in Medina. He said, I wish he hadn't died here. I wish he had died somewhere else away from his home. See, what's the point? He said, because whoever dies away from his home, he will be given the distance in his grave. This is the meaning of the hadith. The distance in his grave between his birthplace and the place of his death. So Allah will enlarge. This is in addition to the na'im that he's going to be receiving. Something else. This is like, what do you call? Another favor, right? He will be given in his grave. Allah will enlarge it to him from the place of his birth to the place of his death. Subhanallah. Can you imagine that? Sometimes we live our life to buy a house, right? You might spend all of your money to get one property, right? Like that, in this dunya. He said, because of all of these sufferings he had to go through, he left his family, he was alone, he was a stranger. Allah will compensate him. Allah will give him in his grave, will make it very wide. Very wide. Imagine from here to Egypt. You just have to go across oceans and right? Imagine all this. It would be, his grave would be wide as this place. It would be green, white and green and beautiful, and subhanallah, this is actually the reward. So it's not something bad to die away from your home. It's not something bad, right? It's to die away from your home, away from your country, away from your family, to die as a stranger. Something actually good, something good, right? Subhanallah, and to be buried in the same place. This is actually the best to be done. We ask Allah Azza to grant all of us the best ending. Jazakumullah khair for your time. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your listening. Jazakumullah khair.